Welcome back to the Crypto Factor. My name is Paul, and today we're talking to Hashoshi, somebody that I've been trying to get on this interview for quite a while. I actually watch him. I actually drink coffee while watching him drink coffee on his show, Crypto Over Coffee. Hashoshi, thank you so much for coming in, man. Really appreciate it.
Likewise, yeah. Thanks for all your support and thanks for having me. I'm glad we could get this done.
So I want to talk about a few things. I want to talk about NFTs, crypto, where you see the markets, but I also want to talk about you. And I gotta ask, how did you actually get involved in cryptocurrency?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I guess it's hard to keep track of the years now, but about 11 years ago, give or take, it was like 2010 was the year
So an
I
OG.
read an OG in a sense. I don't think back then I knew what I had found. Like I knew it was interesting. I knew it spoke to me. I didn't know that other people would feel the same way at the time.
Right.
But of course, hindsight's 2020. But in 2010, I read the Bitcoin white paper totally by accident. I was on that website StumbleUpon, where you like kind of subscribe to
Right.
topics or tags, and you just click
Right. I
and
remember
find
that.
stuff. And I was in school at the time, and naturally, my personality is I was never paying full attention, so I clicked through and trying to learn new stuff. And yeah, stumbled upon it, printed it out, read it, fell in love with the whole concept and the multidisciplinary nature of it, and the rest was history. I stuck with it, and that led to Ethereum when that came out, which led to DApp development, which led to where we are now.
So there's no point asking what you were doing before crypto because basically you were in high school.
Yeah.
Got you.
I was in high school. I was a prep cook and I guess, yeah, I worked at a grocery store and chopped vegetables and fruits all day.
Got you. Okay. So you have now 166,000 subscribers. Congratulations, by the way. I know what it takes on YouTube. So that's a lot of dedication, a lot of consistency. And you started that in 2017.
hmm
Uh, do you do anything else other than YouTube when it comes to cryptocurrency, or are you just focusing on YouTube right now?
Yeah, so I mean, I've done a bunch of things before started that YouTube channel. One of the main reasons is because I was working for customers and clients as a DApp developer. So I was doing full stack development and some like the blockchain education, crypto education, decentralized technology education. And I started this channel because of that. So I was doing a lot of this. I was talking about a lot of the same things over and over again, like what's hashing, one of the fundamental cryptographic primitives in a blockchain. And so I said I'm going to film videos and just send them ahead to clients that I'm going to meet with. And then other people I didn't know started watching the stuff. And I was at least before very reticent to put myself out there. I wasn't big into social media. YouTube freaked me out. And so this was just a way for me to push myself out of the normal comfort zone, and it worked out.
How did you come up with the name Hashoshi?
That first video that I started writing was about hashing, and so I'm like, okay, hash, cool. Uh, and then I'm thinking like hashing, and then Satoshi, and I just blended the two words together and just stuck with it. Didn't really give
Okay.
it all that much thought, and it stuck, and I still like it to this day. So
So
I
to be
kept it.
clear, so to be clear for our audience here, Hashoshi as in the hash from Bitcoin, not hash, the illegal substance.
Correct.
Okay.
Although people can believe whatever they'd like to. That's part of the mystery, right?
What about the coffee? How did you get into coffee? Do you like? Is there some sort of history with you and coffee? Because I see you have different types of coffee every day. Like you're trying different coffees from all over the world. What's up with that, man? Like
It's
really,
just
I think it's cool.
I'm yeah, it's just one of my things, I guess. I mean, so to give people a little lens into my personality, I suppose, but beyond what shows in the videos, is I am one of those types of people who finds something like a topic and wants to know everything about that topic, including the science and the history. And so things like brewing beer, really, I'm really into beer, so I'm like, I want to make my own beer and I want to know the science. Same with coffee. I want to know everything about coffee and how to brew it and the science of brewing coffee. Crypto, I want to know the science, how it was made and how it works. That's just me in a nutshell. And so coffee is just one of the passions I have.
and it resonates with you. It's funny because I had a channel called Cafe Vloggers with my girlfriend, which we didn't really keep
Hmm.
up or anything for many reasons because we're going around different coffee places, trying the
Yeah.
coffee, talking about the places, but then the pandemic, so that's just stopped.
Yes.
But yeah, it was pretty funny. So let me ask you this: you as Hashoshi, what you're actually like? If I met you in high school, we're sitting at the hotel at the hotel at the high school cafeteria. We're having some coffee, more than likely. We're looking around. What would you be like? What would I think of you?
Um, I was one of those kids who was definitely like I was one of the learned kind of nerdy guys, probably obvious. I mean, I was really into sports still and I played sports in high school, but I was really just very focused on my interests and
Mm-hmm.
learning new stuff, really liked to read, still do. And so back then it was mostly hanging out with my core group of friends, telling them about random stuff like like Bitcoin and gaming or software or whatever it was I was interested in at the time. And yeah, I was into trading cards too, which of course then turned into the foundations for NFTs, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Of
So yeah,
course.
really, it was just I was just kind of I still am, but it was just kind of a mellow guy wanting to talk about stuff I was interested in and passionate about.
So, what kind of books do you like reading?
I have a pretty strict rotation where I read one nonfiction and then one fiction so that I don't get
Mm.
sucked into one type of book. I just finished, one sec. I just finished rereading this book, which is Economics in One Lesson.
Okay.
Really good book. So that was my nonfiction. And then I got to find a new fiction book to read. So I'm in the process of finding one. People should leave their suggestions in the comments.
I'm actually gonna check out economics in one lesson. So, have you read any of my books?
You know what's funny? And I can't remember where I saw one of your books. I think I would maybe was at a conference or maybe I was at someone's like hanging out at a hotel after a conference and someone had that book because I remember looking at the cover
Right,
because of the fact that I'm in crypto. Excuse me. I don't read as many crypto books because I need a break.
right,
But
right.
yeah, I do need to read. I have like a pretty long backlog of crypto books, to be honest, that I want to read but I haven't read. So
Which book did you see? Do you
it
remember or?
was, and I might be wrong on this. It's either the red cover on the far right or the orangish yellow one on the far left.
So the crypto factor or the crypto marketing playbook?
Yes, and I
Okay.
want to say it was the far right book, but my memory is
All
not
right. Well,
100% reliable.
you're actually going to be in the crypto factor part two, so you get to read that one.
Full circle moment.
Awesome, awesome. So, um, where do you think crypto is heading right now with all the recent news and everything that's going on?
So I think we're in this place now where crypto is it's now on the runway for takeoff to what we would have deemed mass adoption back in
Right.
2017 or 2013 when we didn't have any clue. I mean, in 2013 it was really just Bitcoin, and then in 2017 it was all these other cryptos, and we thought this space is immature, it's
Mm.
moving too fast, money wise, it's the Wild West. This is never going to be what we want it to be in terms of mass adoption. But we're now to that point where we're starting to become more mature. We have some issues still, without a doubt. But as things like regulatory clarity come into the mix, and everyone has their own opinion there, but having frameworks in place so that companies know the general bounds in which they can innovate and things that they can build and how they can bring it to mass audiences that need that structure, I think we're going to see that happening. NFTs have been a big part of that. And then also some of the interfaces that we've seen as like a faceplate for DeFi to make it a little more accessible
Mm.
are a big part of making that happen. And just the maturity of layer one blockchains that were a pipe dream in 2017 that are now delivering on their vision. There are very few, but the ones that survived are starting to do that.
Right. And just for viewers now, is cryptocurrency as profitable as they say it is?
Uh, it is if you make a plan
Hmm.
and if you are disciplined enough to take profits.
Yeah,
because I don't think you can qualify something as profitable unless you capitalize on those profits,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
That's the key. People struggle with
And
that.
most of us have been millionaires and broke within weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, exactly. And it's like then you're sitting there like when you've gone from like massive gains to like thinking about like how you can harvest tax losses, like that's just not something you want to be thinking about. Even worse yet, people who take profits and then get greedy and FOMO back in, having capped a gain and then losing
Yeah,
it all and then being
yeah.
left with a lot of money to pay. So, lessons learned.
Always take profits. I've been preaching that since day one. So,
Hmm.
what about NFTs? Where do you see them going? What do you think about them? What can you basically? You talk about NFTs a lot. What's your opinion on them? I'll tell you my opinion on them. It's a funny story because I actually used to work for Mintable. I actually
Hmm.
developed the Sellers University with Zach Burks
Cool.
together. But I am really bad at investing in NFTs. Any NFT, I invested over $15,000 in NFTs, and I think they're worth like 1.5 thousand right now. So I
Nice.
can't really give a lot of advice on what to buy. I can tell you how to sell them,
Yeah. There you go. Hey, you got to know what you're good at, right?
right? But what's your take on them, man?
I think that I mean, if we're being conservative, and people might be angry with this, but 98% of NFTs that exist now are worth nothing.
Yeah,
Like tangibly worth nothing.
like my ones.
But right. And generally, when people joke like in the NFT space, people are like, you spend X number of dollars on illiquid JPEGs. That is factually
It
true.
is.
It's not just a joke, but the reality is it's the beginning of a culture and the beginning of a shift towards something that is tangibly valuable. And I think it's a shift towards digital ownership, which is something we need if the vision of some of these, bigger thought leaders in the space are to be correct around the advent of the metaverse and for what we would deem to be the metaverse or our transition into
Mm,
functioning more in virtual spaces and shifting more commerce to virtual spaces. If that's the case, then you want to actually own the things that you are buying in that virtual space and to
correct.
own creations and intellectual property and things like that. So that's really where we're trending is the economy of digital scarcity and ownership rather than the, what I would call like the Fortnite economy where you buy with US dollars or British pounds or whatever virtual items that you have no ownership claim to. And then if the game goes away or you become an undesirable, you lose all of the items and the money. So really that to me is the fully base level TLDR value prop.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. So
Please.
Tim got a Christmas present of $1,000. He lives with his family. He's young. He's 18, 19 years old. Doesn't need money. Won't make him. Won't break him. And wants to
Hmm.
invest in NFTs or cryptocurrency. One of the two. What would you suggest and why?
So let me just be sure that I'm clear on the ask. It would be investing in a crypto like a fungible token versus an NFT, so like one of the digital art pieces that
Right.
are out there right now.
Right. It's 18 years old, 19, doesn't really need money. It was gifted to him. He could go half and half if you want. Whatever. I'll give you that as well. What would he invest
Hmm.
in?
If I were in a place where I had $1,000 and I want to invest even in, I'm optimistic on the future of NFTs, I would be investing in platforms rather
Mm,
than individual projects right now. So I would be splitting up that money because I'm a diversification guy. I would be splitting up that money across a few blue chips. So you could put some money into some of the early days layer ones, things like um, or even layer twos, to be honest. Let's be clear. But some of the layer ones, putting a little bit of money into something um, like Ethereum, even right now,
mhm,
still
mhm,
to me feels like a good play. Putting money into platforms where things are being built, the sandboxes of the world,
mhm.
into some of the early metaverse projects like Network, which full disclosure, I am invested in personally, of course. So I mean, things like that. That's where I would be placing bets rather than individual NFTs. And the reason for that is because your odds of doing well on something where other things are being built that are force multipliers and enablers are higher than finding that diamond in the rough, PFP project
Nice.
that it's going to make you money. So, not financial advice as we always say, but the reality is that's my philosophy. That's how I spend my money. So.
Now, the not financial advice, and you're in America, right? So it's important for you to say it. Yeah, makes sense. I say it anyway, but
sure.
it's mostly an American thing. What does success mean to you? I'm just going to change up a little bit and come back to this. What does success actually mean to you?
Success. I mean, that's a broadly scoped question, but I would say success overall. Well, I know that was on purpose, a broadly scoped question, but I would say that success to me is when you reach that perfect confluence and balance between your own sort of personal sense of achievement and, of course, compensation is important. You need to earn to support yourself and your family, but reaching that confluence of your own personal remuneration as well as what benefits the people who you are creating for, whether that be a product or content or whatever. When you reach that balance where if you win, the people that you serve win as well, that to me is success. And so like to me, that's what like the channel is. If I can, clearly disclose a sponsored episode of my show and I can make some money off that being high integrity and honest with my audience. And then it turns out to be a good opportunity for them to learn about something early and do their own due diligence. And then maybe they go and take that knowledge and do something with it that earns them some money. I'm really happy. Or if I create a product and I launch it that people love and use and can do something else with, and we both win, I'm happy. Like that's what success is to me.
Nice. I gotta ask, have you ever been sponsored by a coffee brand?
I don't think I've ever been sponsored by a coffee brand directly.
What are they doing? They should.
Well,
They should...
listen, I've been campaigning this for a while now, and my favorite roaster on earth, Onyx Coffee Labs. I'm working on that one, and they've a couple of times they said, "Hey, we'll send you some coffee," which I do appreciate, which is very nice. So we'll see. Maybe there's some potential there, and then a couple of my local roasters. Yeah,
nice.
We'll see what happens.
I think we should get everybody drinking the same coffee. Maybe we can get up a deal. Like, listen, if you sponsor my videos with coffee, we'll get BitBoy Crypto to drink the coffee. We'll get we'll get Crypto Stash. We'll get everyone.
I want to start like a Hishoshi Roasters Club where I pick coffees for the month and everyone gets the coffee and that likes coffee at least and drinks it, lets me know what they think, and like do like once a month do like a meet and greet. Just
I would definitely want to be involved
people.
In that, dude. I would definitely. I'm a coffee man. I'm drinking water tonight because it's like almost 12 here, but like I love my coffee, man.
Right on, man.
Decaf or do you do decaf, or do you think that's just?
Well, traditional, like most decaf is garbage because it's treated very poorly. Like with coffee, heat and in some cases, like heat and moisture a lot of times is what robs coffee of its flavor, and high pressure too. So like a lot of decaffeination, they overuse heat and pressure, and it just takes away all the good characteristics of coffee. But there are more expensive ways of getting the caffeine out, making decaf and keeping all the good stuff. And so if you buy high quality decaf, it's good. So that's what I try and do. I just buy less and I drink it a little less, but I have good quality decaf on hand for at midnight when I want a coffee, which is very often.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So do you think anybody can succeed in crypto or even NFTs? Do you think it's a certain character or certain traits they need to have?
I am one of those people who believes that everyone is capable of pretty much anything at a base level. They just need to unlock the way their brain thinks about things and learn how to train themselves to do things in the way that makes sense for them. Like I often have people ask me like, "Oh, I don't think like a programmer. I can't program." That's not true. People can. Everyone can do it. You just need to learn the way your brain wants to understand that way of thinking, right? But to apply it to crypto and to NFTs, it's the same thing. It's learning the basic principles. A lot of like the common rules of thumb, which is don't chase pumps, like don't chase something that's up 250% on the day or 100x, don't go jump into that bad boy, right? Because there's only a limited room to run, except down, to be honest.
Right.
And so at that point, right, it's like following these basic rules and following the principles, taking profits off the table and leaving them off the table until the next good opportunity arises that fits your plan and that fits those common principles of like what's worthy of your investment, like diversifying and, not letting emotion take control of your deployment of capital in the markets. Like there are just some of those basic rules that I think if you follow, regardless of your skill set, you can be successful. And the other point is people don't spend enough time doing due diligence on projects. Like I am on YouTube, and while it would behoove me to make videos with titles like the next 100x coin with a question mark, to me, all that's really going to do is incentivize people to emotionally purchase what I've said, even if I say don't buy it in the very beginning, because it's emotional. People don't want to do due diligence. They want to make the money now. And so you need to spend 10 times more time doing due diligence than you think you do. And if you do that, you're already ahead of the game, in my opinion.
Right. What does it take to succeed in crypto? What does it take to succeed and become Hashoshi? 166,000 subscribers on YouTube, knows tech, knows his coffee. What does it take to become you?
I don't know. I don't think I'm all that special, but the reality is to me, everything that I have is derivative. Partially I'll give, shout out to like my parents, my wife, who always were encouraging me doing the stuff that I like doing and not doing other things that maybe the rest of the world would tell me to do. And beyond that, too, as a young kid, my parents encouraging me to love learning more than anything else. So I think that constant curiosity is a big one. Just finding joy in learning something new is a huge thing, because if you start doing that daily, you'd be shocked at how much you can absorb in like a really short period of time. And that's a big one. There are people that I've talked to that say, oh, I didn't think I would understand crypto. I didn't understand anything. And I could not even understand like what's a blockchain. And I just say to them, watch 50 different videos where people explain it differently, and you will find the way it needs to be explained for your brain to like unpack it and log that. And I think it's the same for everyone. It's just persistence and learning and taking bite-sized pieces every day, reading, watching videos, in whatever format that is for you. That's really how I got here, and that's how I try and continue to stay at the top of my game.
Nice. You also learn to learn, right? The more you study, the more your brain learns to learn, and that other video might actually resonate to you, even though it's not really the different way, but it's actually, you've learned to learn, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, and you learn, the most important thing is learning how you personally learn things, and it's not like, oh, I'm a visual learner versus I'm not a visual learner. It's more so the way that you need things to be explained and the process and the places that you go to find the information. You find those people you can trust to give you things in the format you need. That's all you can ask for.
Right. Did you have any mentors?
I would say, indirectly, I just read every single thing that, Satoshi Nakamoto had out there, including going back into history of like Bitcoin talk, and every paper that was released in the Ethereum space, or every blog post that came out from some of these early projects that came after, Bitcoin and after Ethereum, that came like the ICO days. To me, those were like my indirect mentors. They didn't know anything about my existence, but to me, it was that sort of indirect mentorship. But I also did have people along the way who encouraged me from the perspective of like how I'm presenting information, because I think that's a big one, and being able to package the knowledge that I was finding out there into digestible content. So a lot of that mentorship has come in the, in the course of doing the YouTube thing, to mention a couple, like early on in my channel journey, Crypto Zombie, brought me on to his show. And that was my first introduction ever to like a big, YouTuber. It's like doing it for real. So that, I mean, that's just one, little shout out I can give.
Nice. What does your typical day look like?
It's basically me chaotically multitasking 100,000 things from morning till night. That's the way I operate. But jokes aside, I think it's more so I spend a lot of time during the day like just sharpening the sword and continuing to work and try and build skills. But also, I think it's important for everyone in a totally non-virtue signaling way to just take a break once in a while throughout the day. So I'll stop and just like sit and do nothing for a little while and sit with my dog, talk to my wife for 5 minutes. Like that I think is important. And, of course we can all improve on that front. My typical day is usually just morning till night working on things that I'm passionate on. And that is a good day, a day well spent for me.
Nice. What kind of dog do you have, by the way? I have a pit bull, an American
I
Amstaff,
have
basically.
I have a little white fluffy dog, hypoallergenic because
Oh,
my wife's allergic to dogs, similar to a Bichon.
okay.
And yeah, I've posted a couple photos of him on like Instagram and Twitter and stuff, so
Nice.
people can see the little man for sure.
That's really cool. I'll take a look. All right. Do you have any daily routines or morning rituals?
I meditate every morning.
Okay.
That's just the
Interesting.
thing I do. I think it's a good way to set the tone for the day and to be mindful, which is important. And the other thing that I always do is I try and carve out time to read throughout the day, even in small chunks. And that might be my books, that might be bookmarking articles, and even sometimes like reading just normal happenings in the world, like reading the news. But a big thing I've changed is I used to be very attached to the world news and current events and things like that. And just mental health wise, given the craziness of the world, I just don't bother spending time on that negative energy. It's
I
just not worth it.
I feel I do exactly the same. I've given up on watching news and what's going on long time ago, man. Long
Hmm.
time ago. What drives you forward? What drives you to keep on achieving what you achieve?
I think it's going back to that vision of success, right? It's that that equilibrium point where I'm creating value for people, where they're coming and they might be getting knowledge, they might be getting inspiration, they might just get validation for something that they're feeling or thinking about. And, if I can do that and I can make a living, I can support my family, and I can also just spend all my time and creative energy on stuff I like, then that's really what drives me, is just to keep doing that. Of course, like life is life, it's like you've got bills to pay and you want to balance and have time for your family and to spend time not working and things like that. So it's always just balancing all those things. But it is that point where I can balance and align the incentives between myself and those who I work for and work with.
It's you have support from your family too, because it's funny. Like one day I tell my girlfriend, "Hey, we're buying a car." No, wait a minute, no car. Stop,
Yeah.
stop everything. Then it's like, oh wait, okay, we might get it. We might get it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I
Right.
mean, and I mean, of course, it's like
True
that's the
story.
dynamic. That's
True
the
story.
dynamic. It's crazy, man. But that's life, right? That's the way it goes. But I think if as long as the people around you are supportive within reason, of course, like
Yeah.
there it's a fine line between being supportive and being an enabler. Like if someone's just doing something that's bad for them, or they're doing
Yeah.
something that doesn't make sense, and you're being like, hey, listen, you got to do what you want to do, then it's like
Yeah.
maybe not a wholesomely positive thing. But within reason, like if I said to my wife right now, like for my mental health, I'm gonna just make one video a week and it's gonna be just the baseline. I need a break. She wouldn't be like, are you sure you want to do that? It'd just
Hmm.
be, sure, that's fine. So not
Yeah.
saying I'm doing that, so it's not like a subtle announcement, but just an example.
Yeah. My girlfriend will be like, "Oh, great, we can spend all day together." I'm like, "Okay, I gotta
Yeah.
get back to work."
Yeah. Hey, back to work.
How do you handle failures? Because everyone fails in life. I'm sure you've failed at a couple of things as well. How do you handle failures?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, I think about, there's so many examples of even in crypto, where I've found that I'm really good at finding the next big thing. I'm
Right.
not very good at staying focused on the next big thing long enough to realize all of the benefits of finding that thing early.
Mm,
Right? So I can think of like tons of examples of that where I was in the right place at the right time and I was in doing the right things, but I got distracted by something else because I'm always chasing new knowledge. And so really over the years I've learned how to keep my focus still while I'm still looking at other things, but sticking with the things I have conviction in. And so to me, failure is just an opportunity for me to fix stuff, and I don't always do that successfully. There are often times where I fail to fix things from my previous failures. That's just being human, I guess. Um, but things like with the channel, right? It's fickle, and I think you probably relate to this with YouTube,
yeah.
where I'll spend 15 hours doing research for a video. I'll cut the nicest edit because I'm still a one man show. Like I do all this stuff by myself. And
Right.
so I'll cut the best edit and I'm like, this is the greatest video I've ever made. And it's like does okay.
Like
And
10 views.
yeah,
And you're
it's
like,
like
oh, it
it
does have
just
a little bit
it
more.
like
Like,
it's like right
really?
at the channel average. I'm like, this was like my magnum opus and it's not doing well. But then like I'll cut something and I'll make like a video that takes me like 3 hours and
Right.
it blows up, right? And it just doesn't make sense, but it's because that's the way YouTube is, right?
Right.
It's a big machine. So to me, I used to look at that as like as a failure. To me, it's like if I know that every video that I make that I think is going to be big and isn't is just another is going to be overshadowed by a video I think is the worst thing I've ever made that ends up being huge. So it all balances out.
I've actually made some videos called Can Shiba go to $1,000 and make you rich? In a YouTube short. As soon as I open the video, no, it can't.
No, it cannot. It's very true. It's very true. YouTube is like that.
You just can't. Like, there's no reason to like over. Do you practice
Let's not
affirmation?
overthink this.
Yeah. Do you practice
Affirmation.
affirmations?
Um, I don't know if I would say affirmations. I would say more so like manifestation. I'm pretty.
Hmm.
And it's
Okay.
it's more. It's not super spiritual, but it's more so like I think where you're focused is where you go. It's kind of like when you shoot. I like to play basketball as a kid, and I played soccer. Football is the proper term, by the way.
Right.
Where your toe is pointing is where the ball's going to go. Same
Right.
way for when you're working, what you're focused on, your goals. Like goal setting is not about dreaming and then it just coming to you. It means that if you're actively setting those goals, you're pointed in that direction, and the little things you're doing on a day-to-day basis are in pursuit of that goal. Like that's the reason, quite
Right.
literally. And so that's really more so what it is. At the beginning of the year, I set goals and I write them down in my terrible handwriting and I put them in my office and I stick them up on the wall. So whenever I go to work and do stuff, I'm aimed in that direction. And sometimes I hit the goals, sometimes I don't, but I know I'm at least going that direction.
All right. I'm going to ask you my signature question now, but before I get there, if you're watching this, if you're enjoying this, please check out Hashoshi's channel. There's so much you can learn. I've learned a lot from him. Got the links up here and also down the description down below. And if you got any value and you want to do this, go ahead, subscribe to this channel as well and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss the next video. So the question, my signature question is this. What's the one question you wish or should people ask that never do? What's the one question you wish people ask you or should ask you, but they never do?
Ask me?
Yes, you.
Okay. You've asked some really good questions. I would say an interesting question that people wouldn't ask me is what's the first question that I do and would ask a crypto project, either figuratively or literally.
Okay.
And the answer to that is quite simply, what problem are you trying to solve? Because if there's not a problem that you're trying to solve that I believe is well founded and that actually exists, I don't care what your solution is. Because if you're solving a problem that doesn't exist, your product will never be adopted. And I think that that's kind of the fundamental rule of thumb, the starting point for my research. And that saves me tons of time, because if I don't believe that the thing that's being built is going to solve a problem, I don't really care about what's being built, right? So
Awesome.
that would be why.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. I want to talk to you about my project right after this, by the way, just because of that question. Thank you so much, man.
Sure.
Really appreciate you. And I'll see you again soon. Thank you so much.
Hopefully so. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.